everybody. This is Angela, and you're listening to Five Picks and a Chick featuring El Gato. This is a podcast that gives you five NFL picks for people who love football and friendly wagering. Hey, El Gato, guess what? It's just you and me today.
All right, I'll take it.
All right. And you know what? We're not talking football because we're in the off season. So we're going to talk March Madness, the Final Four.
Final Four finally got here after a couple of weeks of some exciting basketball games, and we saw what happened in the Elite Eight with some of these games that went down to the wire, and maybe a few games before that with the team still in it, on how they got here. And wow, some of these games and endings were insane. They were heart pounding. So
They were some good games, some really good games. Didn't go our way. I have laryngitis or getting over laryngitis. So if my voice comes in and out, you'll know why, Ogato. Okay.
Yeah.
So bear with me. But I was going to say those games, last week when we were doing the podcast and I had my picks and I just felt so dang sure. I'm like, man, we're going 5-0. I'm going 5-0 on these picks. I went 0-5.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm 2-8 with March Madness.
Yeah.
You went 1-4. You're 3-7, so you're a little bit better than I am, but it's been
rough. These games have been rough. I'll tell you the roughest game that we didn't win, and I think we both had it, was that Ole Miss Houston game. No, Ole Miss Michigan State. You're right. Michigan State had that game. The guy, there's 2 seconds left in the game. The guy either misses or makes a free throw. Ole Miss inbounds it. The guy heaves a three-quarter court Hail Mary, right? He's just throwing up the ball. It happens to hit the rim and go in, and we lose that bet by the hook by half a point.
By the hook.
You see how crazy and insane these games.
I know. I mean, it wasn't even a basket that they needed because
I know they didn't need it. I mean, you can tell by my background. There's a sports book, and in the very background are the windows where people who have placed friendly wagers go and cash their tickets. And I can promise you, towards the ending of that game, people who had Michigan State were already in line, ready to cash in, and they're watching from where they're standing, going that way.
Yep.
Watching the TV to see what's happening, and they see how the game ends, and they're probably like, "What just happened?"
Just happened.
Or who had individual games, or as we discussed earlier before we got on air, who had maybe that was their last game of a multi game parlay, to win large. That can drive you to drink.
Hey, friendly wagering is not for the weak.
It can drive you to drink. I'm telling you.
It could drive you to drink. It's not for the weak. But just think, all the Ole Miss people with their tickets jumped up for joy and was like, I just won this game.
Yeah. It's better than actually winning the game, right? Is actually cashing in a ticket.
Yeah. So that was one of the better games. Of course, it didn't go in our favor, but that was one of the better games with the Sweet 16. So
how about that insane Florida Texas Tech game?
Oh my gosh, the Elite Eight game. Yeah. That was whew.
I mean, Florida was halfway in their grave, right? Halfway down. They're 3 feet down from a 6-foot grave hole. And with 4.5 minutes left, they just start cranking up threes, and they're down by 13 or 14, and they end up winning the game.
Yeah, that was I had already counted Florida out.
Yeah.
And then they hung tough, and they did not give up. They did not give up.
Yeah, that's the key. These young men, they keep playing till the end, because you know what? They may be seniors or juniors or whatever, and it may be their last college game, right? They have they don't have the talent to go to the next level, right? NBA. So, they're playing their butts off to the very end. And we have a mutual friend who is a big Texas Tech guy, and I can just imagine. Well, he did tell me what he went through emotionally
Gonzo.
Emotional damage is what I can tell you you went through. And I felt for him when I saw him the next day at the golf course. But overall, he said, "Well, we've had a good season." But he said, "But if we just could have done this, and this, and this, and this in the last 4 minutes of the game, they could, they could be in the Final Four. Playing
Yeah.
Auburn.
Yeah.
Instead they're home and it's Florida. To
Yeah.
your point, they never gave up and they advanced, and now they are in the Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So speaking of Florida, that's going to be the first game we talk about. That's the first game on Saturday. And
Yeah.
so it's Florida against Auburn. Florida is favored by 2.5. So of course, they're giving the points.
Yeah.
The over under is 159.5. So we're going to talk about both the spread and the over under.
Okay.
And so I'm just wondering, who do you like in this game? I have my thoughts. I want to hear what you
Yeah.
think
Well,
about
I
this
think
game.
Florida, if I looked this up correctly, they won the season matchup. I think they won it. They won it by 9 points, 10 points. Pretty solid victory in that tough upper tier of the SEC. Not all they say the SEC was a tough conference, but I think it was that upper maybe 5 teams that really were the toughest teams in that conference. A lot of teams made it into the tournament, but Florida, Auburn, Florida winning the regular season. I'm looking for a good matchup on this one. Florida, they won a couple of tough games against UConn and Texas Tech, making it to the Final Four. Auburn, on the other hand, they beat a good Michigan Wolverine team. They beat a tough uh, Coach Izzo Michigan State team. So it's not like they had a cakewalk, but this game is going to be probably, I'm predicting, an up and down game, a fast game. Auburn's going to have to deal with Florida's, tall redwood trees in the inside, and they have to
Yeah.
deal with that 3-point sharpshooter on the outside. Auburn, on the other hand, they've got to convert some 3-pointers. They haven't been converting them as much during this tournament, I've read. They've got to control the big men inside, and they've got to just play tough defense. I'm going to say it's going to be a tough game. 5-point spread at most. I know the spread is 2.5.
2.5.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go with maybe an upset here. I'm going to go Auburn. I think Florida has. They've had some close games that they've won, and maybe they even should not be in the Final Four, but they are, right? Because they never give up. I think they should have lost the UConn game. Certainly the Texas Tech game. Auburn, on the other hand, has been steady. They've won. The 4 teams or they've beaten the 4 teams that are supposed to be. I'm going to go with an upset here. Auburn. I'm going to take the points with Auburn, and then I'm going to go. I'm going to say it's going to be an up and down game. I'm going to go with the over on this one.
Hey, well, I'm going to go with the team that is the never give up team, and that's Florida Gators. They have not given up. I know they haven't shown in their games that they should be a number one seed, but they never give up. So I'm
Yeah,
taking Florida Gators -2.5. Gators have won 16 of the last 17 games.
yeah,
And that game that you spoke of where Florida beat Auburn, that score was 90-81.
hmm,
So I think with this game, it's going to be very similar. So I'm going to go with the over in this game. I think the score is going to be very similar to that
yeah,
game. I'm taking Florida. I mean, Florida, the Gators have Walter Clayton Jr. He
yeah,
averages 18 points a game and he shoots 39% from the 3-point line.
yeah,
I think both teams are well balanced and they can both score the ball. But I'm taking the hotter team, the never give up team that's better on the defensive end. So that's going to be the Florida Gators. I know Auburn has that really good guy, Broom. And man, that injury, I did not expect him to come back. Like both his leg and his elbow hyperextended, or at least
yeah,
it looked like. I thought, oh man, he's out. Even if they advance, he's out. And he came back in and played hard. So we'll see how that, I'm sure that didn't just go away in these last few days. So we'll see how that injury
Yeah.
is going to affect them against Florida. And Florida is going to play to that injury too. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the key on this one is controlling for Auburn to win, controlling Florida's two big men underneath because they have skills. They're good screen setters for that 3-point sharpshooter, but yet they can also kind of create their own shot if they back up their defender into the lower block and they can get their shot off because they're so tall. That's going
yeah,
to be a key, I think.
yeah, yeah. So I'm taking Florida -2.5, and I'm going with the over 159.5.
All right.
So let's talk about Duke and Houston. Duke is favored by 5.5. If you ask me, this is the championship game. This game should be the championship game.
Yeah.
Duke and Houston. Whoever wins this game is going to win the championship. They're going to
Mhm.
be the ones holding up the trophy come Monday. These two teams are outstanding teams.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you said the point spread is Duke -5.5, and the over under is what on this one?
135.5.
135.5.
Mm-hmm.
Duke, I didn't watch a whole lot of Duke basketball during the regular season. Of course, I've kept up with them a little bit more during the conference championship, and now certainly into this March Madness run. And they they are they are a well-rounded team offensively. Defensively, they go about two or three deep into the bench. You got Cooper Flag, forward, ball handler, distributor, rebounder, scorer for Duke. You've got the tall guard that they have in Proctor, who can create, shoot the 3-pointer, distribute the ball. I mean, they're a good, solid defense. I mean, Duke is Duke. They've got a good, solid core. I mean, their road to the finals, going through St. Mary's from somewhere, a Baylor team, an Arizona team that was kind of tough, and then they just destroyed Alabama. I mean,
Destroyed.
they shut down their number one point guard. They shut down their number one low block tall player, and then they just dismantled them. That was a great coaching job by the Duke coach.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they just completely destroyed them. Houston, on the other side, I mean, they had a close game on the road to the finals against Gonzaga. That was a tight game. They had a close game against Purdue, and then they just manhandled, just like Duke did to Alabama. They just destroyed a solid Tennessee team that Coach Barnes there at Tennessee. They play good defense, average offense, but they create a lot of their offense with their defense. But they just shut down Tennessee. I'm talking about
Yeah.
Houston, and they just destroyed them. That game was over at halftime. I thought this is
Yeah.
going to be a close game. Houston's good defensively, top in the country.
Yep.
Duke is the most efficient offensively, so
Yep.
something's got to give there. You
Yeah.
know, I think Houston can match up with Duke's bigs. I think Houston's guards can match up with Duke's guards. Man, you're right, Angela. This could be the best game, the championship that should be the championship game, right? But they're
Yeah.
not. They're in the semifinals, going to the finals. But with Houston being as tough defensively as they are, and having a really scrappy team, and the coach, they feed off their coach as well. I'm going to go with Houston plus the points, and I'm going to go with the over on this one. I think both teams are going to be able to score. I'm looking at maybe 150 points total on this one. So
Yeah.
I'll go with Houston advancing.
Yeah. I agree with you on both. I'm not sure about Houston advancing, but I'm taking Houston with the points. I think it's going to be a very close game. This game is going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think Houston's defense is going to be able to hold down Duke just enough to keep the game close. And like I said, I'm taking Houston getting the points, not necessarily to win the game, but to cover. Houston has only led up more than 65 points in this tournament only one time,
Mm,
and that was to Gonzaga. And Gonzaga is a high scoring
yeah.
basketball team. So Duke, I think, will get their points. And that means Houston is going to have to score also to keep this game close.
Yep.
And that's why I like the over in this game. Again, like I said, I feel the winner of this Houston Duke game is going to be the one holding up the trophy come
Yep.
Monday. Duke to win, I think, needs to contain the guard, Crier, I think is his
Yep.
name.
Right.
Yeah, because he can put up some points, and if they don't do that, or if Duke does do that, Houston's going to be in trouble. But Houston can hit threes, and they protect the ball very well.
Yep.
So I'm not necessarily saying Houston's going to win the game in advance, but I'm going to say that they do cover.
Yep.
But defenses win championships, and
Yeah,
Houston
you're
has a really good defense. So
Houston has it. But to your point, if Duke can shut down Crier, but even if they do that, I know they shut down Alabama's point guard and Spears, but it seemed like Alabama didn't have anyone else to go to. Like no one else either to go to or even wanted to assume the leadership role of scoring the ball.
yeah,
Houston's got a bunch of players that can score.
yeah,
If they shut down one guy, they've got four others that are not shy about asking for the ball and trying to score the ball. And they get that off of their coach, I feel.
Samson.
So it's going to be a challenge for Duke. I'm going for Houston with the points, but I wouldn't be surprised if Duke pulls this one out. And I think you're right. I think the winner of this game will eventually be hoisting the championship trophy at the end. This is
Yeah,
going to be I'm looking forward to watching this game. I want to watch obviously both games with interest, but this one in particular, Houston and Duke, because you know you either love or hate Duke, right? A lot of fans are just that way, almost similar to some football teams, either the Chiefs or the Eagles. You either love them or hate them. Duke is the same way. It just has that type of fanfare, right? You either love them and you're with them all the way, or you just hate. Almost like similar to Notre Dame, right?
yeah,
Kind of an
yeah,
analogy of college football. This is college basketball. We're talking about football. Notre Dame is kind of the same. You either love them or you hate. Duke is Duke. They've been gone for a little bit as far as being in the championship games, but they've got a chance. They've got a chance.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. It'll be a good Saturday, and come Monday, it'll be exciting to watch whoever advances. Any final
Yeah.
thoughts?
Only that I'm hoping Saturday we have some good competitive basketball. I hate for all this to build up and we have some blowout games that it's over midway through the second half, when a team is up 20.
I
Although
agree.
Florida proved they can be down 13 or 14 with 3.5 to go and still pull it out. But you know what I mean, right? I
Yeah,
would like to see an intense up and down game, lead changes, every other
yeah,
possession, and it goes down to the final 2 minutes. And those final 2 minutes, it all comes down to your point. Can you play defense? Can you get a rebound? Can you make a free throw? And can you make a clutch shot when it matters?
yep.
Right?
Never give up. Never
Give
give
up.
up. Hey, I said at the beginning when we started March Madness podcast, I said it seems like the teams that can hit threes are the ones that advance. And I think we see this in these final four teams
Yep.
because all of these teams, they've got people that can hit some threes.
Yep.
So I think that kind of just proves that point. But
Yeah. Obviously Florida, right?
yeah,
Houston had to hit some threes against Gonzaga to advance. Otherwise, Gonzaga would have had them. I think Duke was the only team maybe out of this Final Four that didn't have really a close game.
yeah,
Auburn had,
didn't have to.
didn't have to press.
Yeah,
All the other three teams did, even Auburn against Michigan and Michigan State. But you're right, hitting those threes are important. If you can hit those threes, it sure makes life easier.
yeah,
Uh, you know,
under
yeah,
pressure as well.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Legato, guess what? We only have 153 days till NFL kickoff on September 4th.
Take it.
Can you
Ready.
imagine? I'm ready
I'm
for
ready.
football. Obviously, with my record for March Madness, I'm saying I am ready for football.
me, me too. I do a lot better in football than, I mean, yeah, I'm ready
Yeah.
for football.
Yeah,
All right, there's only one season for me, and that's football season.
that's
And
football.
there's only one league for me, and that's it, the NFL.
That's exactly right. But we are going to be back in a couple of weeks. I don't know exactly what day, but we will be back to do some NBA playoffs, give our
Interesting. Yeah,
pick for some NBA playoff games. I'm not exactly sure what day that will be, but we will be back and talk about NBA playoffs. And that's
sounds
going to
good.
go all the way through the middle of June. So we got some games to talk about coming up.
At least maybe into the second and third rounds when it really gets interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When
We'll
they
be
get rid
back.
of all the playing games and all the little wild card games that they have going. But yeah,
Yeah, for
second and
sure.
third rounds, yeah, we're in it.
We will be back. All right. Well, if you made it to this point in our podcast, we just want to thank you. Make sure to tell your friends about us. Also, hit the subscribe and like button on our YouTube channel at Five Picks and a Chick. You can also find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Hey, as always, thank you to El Gato for being part of Five Picks and a Chick. One, two, three,
Bet.
bet. And that's
All
the wrap.
right.